Good evening, class, and welcome to this cybersecurity series. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through how to set up your personal owner for your cybersecurity and network in practice. So here is the list of things we are going to be doing in this video. We are going to be first we're going to install Linux. Rather, that we do is step 0. Step 0 will be download and installation. Download the installation of Virtualbox. Step 2, Parrot Linux. Then we install Parrot OS. Then we install Ubuntu ISO. Then we install Ubuntu as Ubuntu. Try that. Then we install Metasploitable2. We install DVWA. Then vulnerable web application. We install Windows 6, Windows 7, Windows 8.1, Windows 10, and I think at some point we'll get to install a Windows Server. Explosive, yeah, I'm sure for now. Alright, so this is what we're going to do in this video, so 0 to 6 particularly. Now, how do you install VirtualBox? This environment you see on the screen is the Oracle VirtualBox Manager. And to download VirtualBox, come to virtualbox.org. Since I'm using a Windows environment, I'm simply going to click on Windows Hosts. Once I click on Windows Hosts, the download begins immediately. Right, it's just about 120 megabytes, very easy to download, and then you follow the process to install VirtualBox. Now, once you have VirtualBox installed, next thing to download is to download the ISO image from Kali Linux. To download the ISO image from Kali Linux, you simply go to kali.org. Kali.org. Here is what the landing page looks like. Okay, then click on the download button here. Brings me to this page. Installer images, and select installer images. Scroll down and I click on this arrow. Says 4.1 gigabytes. Once I click on that arrow, the download begins as well. Since I already have clicked download it, I'm just going to minimize this. And then I proceed to the next download. So in your case, just wait to complete the download. Let's let the download complete. And while that is finishing, I'm over to Parrot OS, parrotsec.org. Parrotsec.org, welcome to the home screen of Parrot Sec. It's another Linux distribution that presents cybersecurity professionals and software developers with an operating system to work with. So I click on download. Here I select live. I select security. I select AMD64. And then I scroll down here and I click on download. Just like that, the download begins as well. So the next thing we want to download, well, this is downloaded. The next thing we want to download is the Ubuntu ISO image. I go to Ubuntu, Ubuntu ISO, download Ubuntu desktop, and download Ubuntu desktop, which brings me to this page, ubuntu.com/download/desktop. And this is the version of the Ubuntu 24.04.2. It is version currently at the time of this recording. So I click on download, and you can leave this unchecked without feel this. The download should be immediately, and just like that, the download for Ubuntu begins. You can see we have about 5.9 gigabytes here. So in total, we already have 4 gig, this is 9.4 gig, about 15 gigabytes or more, a little bits of ISO images. So you already have Kali Parrot OS Ubuntu downloading. The next one we want to download is the Metasploitable2 and the vulnerable web applications. But for those two, we have them uploaded in the folder. Let's continue. Right. So in this folder, let's go over here, and over here is the link to download Metasploitable, Windows 7, and then vulnerable web application ISO images, which the link will be added in the description below of this video for you to download Metasploitable2, the Windows 7 ISO, and the then vulnerable applications. To download the Windows 8 ISO image, which is currently being downloaded here. As you can see, it comes to this website, archive.org. Type in Windows 8 ISO download in the search box. You come to archive.org, and archive.org, you have convert ISO image, and we select the Windows 8.164 bits, about 4 gigabytes, which will download. And then while that is downloading, to download the Windows 10 ISO, you come to Windows 10 ISO download in your browser. Select that, and it brings you to this page where you have to create the Windows 10 installation media. So click on download now. Downloads the Windows 10 installation media. So while the Windows 10 installation media is downloaded, I'm going to run that installation media now. So I'm just going to double click on this to run this, asking for permission. Say yes. So it's getting the setup ready for the Windows 10 ISO disk. So I'm going to wait for the Windows 10 ISO installation process, Windows 10 ISO download to begin. Then we go into Virtualbox to install our VMs. So over this page, you have to click yes, you have to click accept. Accept. want this download to begin, and then we're going to finally to start installing our VMs. Right now, what we're doing is we're downloading. So here I'm going to select this option to create installation media. Check on this option to create installation media. I come here to click next. Then I'm going to ask yes, additional the string. Click next. Create an ISO file. Okay. Next. Asks me what do I want to name the file. I'm going to want to name it then. So put that as documents, which is fine. I click save. And now the download progress has begun. So while that is running, I'm going to come back to my Virtualbox and it's the ground running. So first, now I want to create our first virtual machine. To do that, we just simply click on the new button here, Control N. Open this window, then give it a name. For this recording, so as to separate the VMs I'm creating from the ones I already have installed, I'm going to use our digital. Right, which one is digital guide? Linux. Right, then it's going to store that in this folder, which is fine. Then I select the ISO image. The ISO image is like the CD and inserted into the CPU, or in this case, the hypervisor VirtualBox. So once I'm done with the installation, then I eject the CD from the VM. Now I come here, I have the list of recently used virtual ISO images here. But in your case, here it's empty because it's your first time downloading VirtualBox. You have to click on Other and then search for the ISO file that you have downloaded. So you can select Kali Linux from here, open. Just most likely selected Ubuntu, but we want to use Debian, so not to run into any issues whatsoever. So I'm going to come here and switch the subtype from Ubuntu to Debian. Once that is done, one alternative install is not needed for this particular virtual machine. I come to hardware. Here I allocate the base memory, which is the RAM for this particular virtual machine. I recommend a minimum of 4 GB of RAM, but for faster, smoother experience, you can give more than that. But in this video, we're going to go ahead with 4 GB of RAM. I can leave the processor as one virtual CPU. And over here, add the hard disk. I'm going to select, I'm going to leave this as, let's give it 25 gig. But I recommend you give it more, but since it's just a demo VM, let's just give it 25 gig. Right. And I'm not going to pre-allocate full size so that it doesn't take up 25 gig on at once, but it gradually grows into it. Then I click finish. Once you click finish, I see the features of the system that I have just created in VirtualBox. Now let's go ahead to install the operating system into the CPU that we have just set up here. Now I come to give it start. Press enter to select graphical install. Cancel notifications here. Let's get to select language, English, and continue. Location, this is for your time zone and dates. Select the location, keyboard type. Select the American English, the standard QWERTY keyboard. Same for host name. That is the this host name is simply your computer name. So you going to give it same like digital kernel Linux. Okay, let's leave it at that. Continue. Asking for domain name. So let's leave that blank. Configure the network, asking for name of the user. Let's put it like username. What I want to use as username, just first name is fine. Yes, username of your accounts, first name, then yeah, I create my password. I confirm the password created. Click on continue. Yeah, I use guided, use entire disk, continue. VBox hard disk, continue. All files in one partition recommended for new users. Say continue. Finish partition and write changes to disk. Yes, that's what we want to do. Continue. Yeah, I write the changes to disks. I switch from no to yes. Very necessary. I click continue. And now it's installing the base system. Make sure all these items are checked. And I click continue. Now it's installing the softwares. So this will take a bit of time, usually about 5-10 minutes maximum. While this is installing, let's go ahead and check on our Windows 10 so that we have downloaded. Okay, that is at 14% now, very strong. So let's go ahead and minimize that for now. And then this installation continue. Okay, so that's completed after about 15 minutes later. Come to the bootloader aspect, select yes, already selected, and click continue. Here we select the hard disk, click continue, and let this install, and now it's finishing the installation. So just like previously, I'm just going to skip this process and continue while the installation completed. And at this point, we click continue to reboot. Click enter. So now pay attention to the fact that here you see the drive is showing empty. It means it has installed the operating system and it has auto ejected the operating system. Alright. So now we have Kali Linux opened here. going to maximize this, log in with my credentials, set up username and password. So, just like that, welcome to Kali Linux. This is what Kali Linux looks like. Wallpaper, you can change this wallpaper fairly to what you like. You can use this, you can use curly purple, use black guy. What I prefer for this video, I'm gonna use this one. So yeah, we're done with Kali Linux. Then next up on our list, we've done one, two, next is to move on to Parrot OS. So I'm going to turn up the virtual machine now. I'm going to click shutdown, close virtual machine. And now I come back to my Virtualbox, just like before. Click on new. Let's do Parrot OS. Similarly, let's do Parrot OS. Right, come here, select the ISO image for Parrot OS, which is this guy. It's already auto-selected Debian, which is preferred. Unattended install, not needed here. Hardware, same, going to allocate 4 gig of RAM. Leave it as one virtual CPU. Also give it 25 gigabytes of storage. And I click on finish to complete the setup. Right, just like before, click on start, start up the machine to begin our installation. Press enter, select try install, those notifications, right. Parrot OS environments. Unlike Kali that needed to install directly before loading up the environment, Parrot OS is going to load up the environment for you, allowing you the option to either use Kali directly from the ISO file without installing or installing the image. So you can see here we have Kali opened up already, and we could start to use Kali Linux as it is, but I recommend that we install it first. So, because if you don't install and you maybe mistakenly eject the CD, you would lose whatever it is you've done. So let us install Parrot OS. Click on click on install Debian to begin the installation. Next, just gonna click next. British English. Next. Then it's asking for region. Europe. Amsterdam. Yeah, that was in my region. Next. So you can see here the keyboard layout. This is the UK keyboard where you have the quotation marks here and the art key here. If this is what you are used to. For Parrot OS, you can select this version, but I prefer this version, the standard QWERTY key version with the art key at this here. So I do next. Select erase disk. Next. Then give it configure your credentials. First name is all right. Here's the laptop name or the computer name. I'm going to call this G2 Parrot OS. Yeah, I'm going to give it a password. Forward passwords. I want to check this box so that it will ask me for my credentials before logging in, and I do next. I do install now. and the installation begins. So unlike Kali that needed to, you to select certain options along the way, Parrot OS is much seamless. It's more seamless. And you see, we're almost at the end of the installation. So I'm just going to, skip this video to a point where it's almost done and continue from there. So as you can see, it took about a couple of minutes there for it to start. It took about 15, 18 minutes or thereabouts. So and then once you click done, ensure this restart now button is checked and click done to restart now. So while that is restarting, let's quickly check on our Windows 10 ISO downloading. Alright, so it's done. Finish downloading. I click on finish. And so we're done downloading Windows 10. So you can see here, currently Parrot OS is still telling us try to install. Meaning unlike Kali Linux, it did not auto eject the disk image. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to power off the machine. And you can see the disk image is still there. So I'm going to come over to this, right clicking on this, and I click remove disk from virtual drive. Once the disk is removed, it shows empty. Now I go ahead and click on start because now I know the operating system has been installed in the CPU. So I click start. And if the installation completed correctly, rather than showing the try install, it's going to give bring up the login page. Alright, press enter here. Cancel notification, enter. And in 3, 2, 1. We have our login page. We're going to sign into system. Login. And here we are. See, rather than seeing the install Debian, and now seeing our home folder on the desktop. So now we've done Virtualbox successfully, we've done Kali, we've done Parrot OS. We are almost at the finish line. Next up is the Ubuntu ISO. So we're going to go ahead and cancel. Going to let this check for updates. All right, so I recommend you do this. So I'm going to click on yes to check for updates. I'm going to put in my password to authenticate. So allow that action continue. So I'm just going to let this updates run. So while that is running, let's minimize this and then create our new virtual machine. The new VM we want to install now is Ubuntu ISO. So once your download has completed, like I showed you earlier, taking this page, once the download has completed, you come to new, similar nomenclature, digital Ubuntu, to make it different from the previous Ubuntu's I have running, digital Ubuntu OS. Then I'm going to select this image. I can select it from here, but in your case, you have to navigate to the file explorer. So that selects the operating system. So I'm just going to select Ubuntu OS, Ubuntu ISO. Leave the subtype at Ubuntu, obvious reasons. Then on unattended install here, this is available. So at this point, we're going to configure the username of the PC. I'm going to change this VBox user to my username. And I'm going to come over here to password to change. See, it says change me. So I'm going to change the password. And second password as well. The file password. Okay, and then we're going to hardware. For this Ubuntu OS, The reason why we're installing this is for us to configure our security incident and event monitoring tool WASA. And part of the requirement for WASA is that we allocate 8 gigabytes of RAM and 4 virtual CPUs. So because of the purpose in which you are going to be installing this Ubuntu OS, I'm going to, instead of giving it a base memory of 4 gig of RAM, I'm going to go ahead and give it 8 gig of RAM and 4 virtual CPUs, which is still within the green region of my PC. So this makes the hardware requirement that we discussed earlier very important. That the more resources your host machine has, the more resources you can allocate to your virtual machine. And the hard disk, the minimum requirements for WASA, which are going to be installed in later videos, is nothing less than 50 gigabytes of RAM. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it 60, just to give it a bit of extra 10 gigabytes there. And now we can click finish. Okay. So it's already powering the VM up. Notifications, enter to try or install Ubuntu. Wait for it to boot up. Installation process for Ubuntu. So the installation process is preparing. Um, so the Ubuntu installation also takes about around the same time that the Kali and Parrot OS took, if not a bit longer. So just gonna have to be patient with the installation. Doesn't require much intervention like Kali Linux. Welcome to Ubuntu 24.04.2. So it's loading up the installation procedures right now. Just wait for this to complete until you get the prompts to begin the installation. So after about 30 minutes thereabouts, installation is auto restarting now. Let's see how this goes. Okay, just asking for my credentials now. Select my user name. I put in my password. Enter. Now I can proceed with the installation proper. So ideally that long wait is not unique. It may take that long and it may not. So if it's taking long, should not worry about that. Just wait for it to restart and then your installation can begin. So click next. We're going to skip for now. We want to do Ubuntu Pro. We're going to skip. No, don't share system data. Next. And I click finish. And that is it. So if, like I said, the process is not always the same, so just next, skip any additional installations you want to do so that you complete the installation and come here to show applications. Open my terminal to do type here. So it's here. Okay, so yeah. The installation is completed. We have Ubuntu done. We have Parrot OS done. We have Kali Linux done. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down my VM now. I can do that from here. Just going to click the top button here. Let's try to switch to dark mode. And then I power off the machine. Power off. So now we're done with Ubuntu OS. The next thing we want to install is Metasploitable2. So installing Metasploitable2, recall that I said that we have that's uploaded for you in the folder, in this target VMs folder. Okay, so when you download this zip file, you extract the content of the zip file. Just go to the browser and download the zip file. Download anyway. Right, so just wait for this to download. So I'm going to skip the download process to the end, and once the download is complete, we begin the installation of Metasploitable2. And now, so download is completed. We have to move to a downloads folder. Okay, so let's go to the downloads folder. Okay, so this is what we want to set up here. The virtual disk file, right? So I'm going to come to, and let's call this digital Metasploitable 2. And then I'm going to leave the ISO image blank. I'm going to come to hardware. Because it's my target VM, I don't need to give it so much RAM. I was going to give it about 2 gig of RAM. That's fine. I'm going to give it one CPU. And in the hard disk, you can see that virtual disk file. You know what I'm going to select, that I want to use the virtual disk file. I'm going to select this. Then I'm going to click on this to choose the virtual disk file I want to use. Now, we already have the VMD key here, but in your case, I'm going to click on Add. Then go to the download folder, and we can see the virtual disk file here. Select it and open. Right, so then it's not attached, so it's also selected. Now click on Choose to attach it. And once that is done, we click on Finish. So all done, think I forgot to do something. I'm supposed to let me check um, the settings to see what is okay. So you see, it's showing it as a Windows 11 machine. I'm going to come over here now and switch it to Linux because it's a Linux. And the subtype, select the Oracle Linux and do OK. I guess. And now let's just compare what we have in the one we used before. So I think it's selecting the port 1 as the initial bootable media. So we're going to remove this so that the only option left is the VMD key to force it to use that one. All right, so now that we have that there, let's come to system. Did we enable secure boots in the initial version? Let's see. All right, so let me go over here. Settings. Enable this. Disable this guy. Okay. So let's start it up again. Okay, now it's booting because we've removed the previous disk. It's kept seeing the empty one. Wanted to boot from the empty one, but once we deleted the SATA port 1 and then left the port 0 to be the default one, it's booted up successfully. Then we have here the MSF. You can see it says login with MSF admin for the username and password. So you close Metasploitable2 now. Power it off. Gonna show Metasploitable2. And then the next thing we want to install is the then vulnerable web application. So for that we come to our drive to download DVWA here. But in my case, I already have it downloaded and it's an ISO image. So I follow the same process we follow for downloading ISO images. I click on new, then I call it digital DVWA, and then I do ISO image. I select ISO file, leave it as a default Ubuntu that was selected. One to require it here. I'm also going to give it, I'm going to give this one about 1 gigabyte because it's just a vulnerable machine we're going to be attacking. Our disk doesn't need so much disk space. I'll kind of leave that at say 15 gig. Right, and then to finish. Okay, so then I come here to start it up. Sequence complete. Right. So we have the option to either install the installer directly or to boot the live system. So if I click on install, select here, use arrow key to move down, install. Okay, and it says welcome to just a command line interface. We have then vulnerable application installed. So I'm going to close this and then move on to the next installation, which is next installation with Notepad is the Windows 7, Windows 8.1. I believe the download has completed, and the Windows 10. So I'm going to continue. Um, let's continue. Select the digital Windows 7, Windows 7. Come to ISO image, Windows 7, 64 bits. It already auto-detected the operating system. Unattended install. I'm going to input my username and the password. From the password into hardware. Going to leave this at 2 gig of RAM hard disk. Going to leave this at 25 gig. Because just started VM. Let's just give it 15 gig. Because it's just for storage. And then finish. Once that is done, it's powering the VM up. We'll also commence its installation of Windows 7 ISO. We're going to let this installation window complete, and then we confirm our IP address for the Windows 7 machine, and we'll move on to the next installation. It's an installation. Let's set up continue after restarting your computer. So it's doing the restart now. So welcome to Windows 7, back to the past. Let's open up our command prompts. CMD, open, I do IP config, and that should show my IP address. So you notice that these IP addresses are the same because it's just the one assigned to them by Virtualbox because it's on NAT. So which means that they are all isolated VMs at the moment. By the time we are done setting up all the virtual machines, I'm going to explain the concept behind the network connections between them and how to create a network so that these devices can communicate with each other within VirtualBox only or communicate with devices outside of VirtualBox as well. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down this machine now. Shut down Windows 7. The reason why we have Windows 7 as part of our target VMs is because of the vulnerabilities that exist in Windows 7 environment to use to test the exploits which we'll be launching. Now we have Windows 7 done. I believe the download for Windows 8 will have completed by now. Yep, it's completed. So I'm going to come into VirtualBox for our next installation. We've done VirtualBox, Kali, Parrot OS, Ubuntu, Metasploitable2, then vulnerable web application, Windows 7. So I'm going to now you see that we have all of these VMs all on NAT, which means they all have they all have IP addresses assigned to them by VirtualBox and they cannot communicate with each other currently. How do we fix that? We can fix that by using the bridge adapter. So once I come to network, right, and I click on this attached to, I select bridge adapter. This bridge adapter is saying that I want my virtual machine to use the same adapter as my host machine. Once I put all my VMs on bridge adapter, then they are going to have the same IP address. They're going to have IP address within the IP range of my host machine, which means they are all going to be on the same network as my host machine, and I'll be able to detect not just the VMs in VirtualBox, but also other host devices outside my host machine. So I'm going to select bridge adapter, click OK for the links. Going to do the same thing for network. So bridge adapter here. Okay. Same for Ubuntu. Switch to bridge adapter. Where is network? Bridge adapter. Okay. Metasploitable. Same bridge adapter. Okay. DVWA. Network. Bridge adapter. Okay. It's the Windows 7 bridged adapter. Okay. All right. Now, once I start up my Windows 7, to my command prompts, to my CMD, and then do IP config here. So we did previously. You see that it's showing the different information now because it's been bridged to my host network adapter. The IP address is same network as that of my host machine, 192.168.0.78. And if I open my host machine image here, clear screen, And I do right click config. And my host machine, you see, this is on dot 76. So it's on the same network as my host machine. Now, if I leave this open, leave this VM running, dot 78, and I come into Kali Linux, which is also on bridged adapter now, and I start it, press enter, see my username, come into my password, correctly. Now, my terminal here, you can see my username and my laptop name, and I do config, which is the command line utility to check your IP configuration in Kali Linux, and I press enter. I'm going to see here my internet information. I have 192.160.0.79, and that of my Windows is .78. So let's try to do a ping. Ping 192.168.2.78, and I press enter. If the request is timing out, it means that the ping utility is not enabled on this target machine. That's why I can ping it. But let's see. This one is .76. So let me try and ping .76 from a Kali machine. Ping .76. .79. Let's try to ping from .79. 78. Windows Server machine. Okay, so let me stop this one. Let's check out Parrot OS. So I think So it's not Parrot OS now. Enter. My password. Then I come to my terminal. Then here I'm going to do IP address to check my IP configuration with Parrot OS. So I see this is .80, 192.168.0.80. Let's see if I can ping that from my host machine. 80. All right. Quick response. I was able to ping that. Now let's go to Kali now. Let's see if we can ping .80. Kali 80. All right, it's responding. Proceed to terminate. Let's try any of the ones we tried to ping before. If they don't respond now, still saying 78. Okay, right. So let me ping .80 from my command line. I'm just trying to test the network connections between them. And now I ping .80 from my hosts. See if I can ping 192.168 0.76. Leave. 76, that should be that 76 is 79 is cunning. Let's try to ping the 79. Go to the 76, 79. Alright, so Parrot OS can ping cunning. Let's try to see if it can ping the Windows 7 machine, which is .78. Try to ping .78. So Windows 7 is not responding to our ping requests. Which is probably blocking ping. So let's go check out Windows 7. It's a come here, cancel. So pardon. Pardon, let's open the internet. Let's open sharing center. firewall program, just to firewall. So I call it CEUL. File and printer sharing. So this file and printer sharing is currently not enabled. The file and printer sharing option is the where the ICMP protocol issue is. So select details. This feature is used for sharing, but I use on the network. This is no priors. Okay. I'm going to click on change settings. Right, and let's see. Okay, the wireless portable devices is also not activated, so let's just grant it. Let's go to activate that. That will come over to file and printer sharing as well. Select allow. Since we want to make it vulnerable, right? Let's just activate all of them. Just gonna set all of them to allow. Let's just turn everything on. Okay. And because it's my private network I'm using, so no issues here. Now, this is really an old system. There's no option to even allow all. Windows 7. Okay. And then okay. And you can see just like that, my ping to 78 is already going through because I've allowed the ping to 78. So as you can see, that's going on behind the scene. Let's go back to our command prompt. Is it still open? CMD, enter IP config, and then our 78 is now responding because we've allowed the file and printer sharing. So if I try it from my Kali now, I should be able to ping 78. And there it is responding now. Okay. So now you can see that we have our devices connected. If you want to do the same for Ubuntu as well, you can try to run the ping utility from there. And in the next classes, we are going to be looking at how we can now use our cybersecurity tools in practicing within our own labs. Currently, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As I said, I'm going to work on troubleshooting the Windows 10 and Windows 8. So in later videos, you are going to have Windows 10 and Windows 8 included among the target VMs. Thank you for your attention, and this is where we stop for today. Let me just go ahead and terminate the machines. Close this, power off the machine, come over to Parrot OS, power off the machine, and come over to Windows 7 to power off the machine. Okay. So if you found this video useful, please hit the like button, subscribe, share with your fellow colleagues. And remember, everything we are doing, ensure you stay within the ethical and legal limits and do not connect to any network you're not permitted to be on, and do not run these tools you are going to be learning without explicit permissions. Only do this on networks that you own.